How's everybody doing? Welcome back. This is New Year for Black Cats. We're back here with some Blood and Sand, which is our Game of Thrones campaign set 10,000 years or so before the events of Game of Thrones. 10,000 ships, 10,000 years, I think. Timeline may be a little squiffy. It's been some time since I've looked at it. But we are back, and I'm here to be very nice and sweet to my two very good friends, Don and Tom, here today. Not going to do anything that may put their characters in peril or, in a moral quandary, causing them to, maybe go against the values that they hold dear to their heart or anything, Tom. I've never done that, have I?
No. It's been pretty smooth sailing so far.
Yeah. Sure it has. Anyway, it's been a while since we've seen everybody, so let's just catch up. Who's first on my screen? Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I mean, we talk all the time, so it's really not been like months since we've last
It
spoke.
was.
Literally
Did we talk
yesterday.
yesterday?
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday, wasn't
Literally
it?
yesterday.
Yeah. So, realistically, not to be honest, although it seems like a long time, really not a huge amount has changed for me, if I'm honest. I'm still working. I'm still chilling, still hanging out. I did a new. Oh wait, when did I do? I think I did an audiobook. Not an audiobook. Just a story from Dragon Age to Winter Nights on my YouTube thing
Oh, you did?
that
Yeah,
I
you
did
did.
called Hunger.
Oh.
That was fun, but I think I released that around Christmas time, so I can't remember. But that was before that one, so I've got that one, and that was fun to do. And of course, every other Saturday I do the JD&D, which is a lot of fun. So it's not streamed. It's a very private game that
private.
Jay wanted to do. Well, it's not very private, but it's not streamed.
Look, all I'm saying is when I was invited to play, a man in a suit with sunglasses came around my apartment, knocked on the door, and offered me a briefcase with the invitation inside, like with a
That's the
number
way it
on, like
goes.
Squid Game. So, and I had to
Jay was
pay
Jay
terrible
was very
price.
insistent of
Yeah.
a relaxed, no stress, Curse of Strahd D&D campaign. So naturally, the group just went off the wall with their characters and just the most chaotic little things ever.
Hey,
So
what is off the
Susie.
wall about a goblin called Robert Ghostlaw, who is also a drunken master monk? Huh? What's so wild about poor little Bobby?
You know what? I think that might be in the next D&D movie. Main character. Yeah.
No, Hasbro can't afford me.
Not with all the subs they've lost on D&D Beyond. No, they've come back now because they said they won't do it now. So they've come back. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I haven't really done a huge amount, but that's it for me. I'm just looking forward to playing this again.
Hell yeah! And how do you think Garrimond? That's a good omen for today. How do you think Garrimond is faring at the minute with everything that's happened so far?
He is, I think, inside, particularly after the last episode, he is conflicted inside. He's been asked by the head of the house, but for the person he's sworn to obey and protect, to do something that has knocked his honor, which he holds very high in a high regard. So he's very conflicted. He's very, very conflicted at the moment. But he hopes to see, because fundamentally he believes that she is a good person. So he's hoping that at the end game, it was worth it. It was worth it. He's a fucking idiot.
Bless him. Bless him. Holding up our tradition of Game of Thrones men for being complete fucking morons. We love it. We love Garrimond. We love him.
Yeah. Aww.
He's honorable.
You'll love it when he dies then.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna love killing him. I'm sorry. Someone who I will also take great pleasure in killing, perhaps, maybe. Who knows? Don, hi.
Get it. No, I would love to die again in Game of Thrones. Why not? Hi.
How you doing? How you been?
I'm good. It has been a while. It's been like a wild time. Let's see. Since the last time we played, what did I do? I ran a bunch of games, as always. I released a Dragonlance book with my friend Kiana Shaw, The Test of High Sorcery. It's
Mhm.
a solo adventure, or you could also play it with a group. You could play it with a dungeon master, without a dungeon master. That's on DM's Guild. It's been doing really, really well, and the feedback's been awesome. We've got some good reviews, so it always feels nice because we put a lot into it. Um, and I'm working right now with Alchemy RPG. It's a new virtual tabletop that kind of approaches things a little bit differently than like Roll20. I really like it. It's like really an immersive experience. It has like streaming and like outstreaming to Twitch and stuff built right into it. And I'm working on a secret project with them, so I'm getting to write a bunch for that.
Ooh.
So that's been a lot of fun. And that then there's other stuff. There's some NDA stuff that I can't talk about yet, but I have been very busy. I took a little vacation, which I haven't done in a long time, right at the start of the new year. My wife and I went to New Orleans during like the slowest period of their entire year
Hmm.
because that seemed like it'd probably be the most fun for us. And, we were having a good time. I didn't bring my phone. I didn't bring, internet. So I couldn't check what was going on. And then, of course, came back and like all of the OGL news had broke
Yep.
and had affected like every job that I have, everything that I do in a pretty profound way. So January was kind of a crazy month. Uh, but February's here. It's getting a little warmer here already, and things are calming down, and we're back playing Game of Thrones. So I'm very happy.
Hell yeah. I'm glad. And so, similar question to the one I gave Tom, but how do you think Tibalto is feeling right now? What's Tibalto's mood, the plan, the vibe?
Uh, I mean, his vibe is, everything's gonna be all right. He doesn't have, I don't think like he doesn't really think about honor in the way that Garamond does because he is basically a peasant. He is concerned about political upheaval based on the events that have been happening recently. The fact that, we've got Martells visiting our home and he knows, you know, how the villagers feel about nobles. So he's concerned about that, but mostly in that, like, he doesn't want to get caught up in it,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe he does. Maybe he does, but he doesn't want his mom to get caught up in it, and so that's kind of one of the things that happened last time was like trying to convince his very stubborn old mother, who isn't very well, to not go to this festival. He's also promised to help a noble swim the gap. And so he's looking for opportunities, to kind of come up in the world, maybe find a better career, make some more coin, take better care of his mom himself. Those are kind of the things that's on his mind. And I guess we'll see today if, because I feel like every time he has to roll anything, I've been like, oh, yeah, that's one of his dump stats. Swimming. Is swimming a dump stat for him? And he's just been talking a big game.
Does he
Did I
not? Does he
did
have
I
any stat that he hasn't dumped?
did I think that I would never actually have to make a swimming roll? And here we are, where it might happen already in the campaign. I don't know. I guess we'll
Oh,
find out.
oh God.
So the way I see this now, right, Don, you are incredible at creating characters. You really are. You can min-max the best of us. You can make one of the best characters. What I think you've done is try to min-max one of the worst characters. I just got that feeling that you have tried to kind of make this character that's kind of like the best at kind of being eh. You know what I mean? Because you haven't, like you said, you haven't rolled anything. Everything you've rolled is a dump stat at the moment. So I'm waiting for that, either that big kind of like 55 kind of something, or, that's what I'm waiting for. Or not, depending if my
I
theory is
can't.
correct.
I'm not sure, honestly.
We'll
I might have
find out.
completely failed on this one.
But often in RPGs, that's where the fun lies, right? You have your
Yep,
limitations. It's like
absolutely.
making art. Your limitations helps you push, and it helps you make something great. And I think Tibalto's a great character. I like him a lot. Which it will be very sad when I have to kill him. Ultimately, who can say? As for myself, much like my friends here, the end of last year for me was bonkers crazy. I had so much work, so that's why we kind of dropped off with the games, because I just was dying. And then my husband had a car accident. He was fine, but the car was ruined, so that threw everything out of whack. And then we had Christmas, obviously. Went up to my in-laws for Christmas and New Year's, and then I got really sick, and then my back went, and I couldn't walk for a month. So that was also, my January was a write-off. It was horrible. But February is here, and back pain is less than what it was, and I can walk, so that's good. And we're here playing Game of Thrones, and I'm not snowed under with work and dying, so good overall. Much like Don, some stuff NDA, but that book has been announced. If you like Fallout and you like snowy stuff in Fallout, keep an eye out for Winter of Atom, because your girl here did some pictures in it, and they're good. Let me tell you.
It's gonna be really good.
It's gonna be very good.
It's gonna be really good.
I may have had a sneak peek at the manuscript, and yeah, it's good. Other than that, with Black Hats, we are trucking on as ever with Cursed Captains. I got sick, James got sick, the whole world had a catastrophe. The OGL stuff had us all panicking, running around like headless chickens throughout January. So we are working. I do want to, assure everyone, Cursed Captains is coming. But we're very excited to bring that to you. James has been working away, writing. He was talking about crocodiles the other day. So that's going to be something fun to eat you on your boat. James, he says in chat, he's writing literally right now. So write quicker, James. But we are very excited to bring you some Cursed Captains action, as well as a couple of other little things that have been little back burner projects that we've had in the running whilst Cursed Captains has been going. James has been writing. I did a bit of writing. So you might see them soon. I don't want to give dates, but that's the thing. But we're here for some Game of Thrones. Are we ready to get back into Westeros, into Dorne, into the heat of Dorne? I mean, it's a balmy 3 degrees Celsius where I am right now, so I'm getting that 4D experience of what it's like in Dorne. So let's do a little summary of what has happened and where we last left it and where we're going to kick off. So, just to refresh everyone's memories, we are House Carvos in Dorne. They are a Rhoynish family that moved across in the migration from Rhoyne as the Rhoynar was conquered by the Valyrians. The house is led by Lady Soraya Carvos. She is the mother, the matriarch, and her 2 daughters and 1 son, Nyla, Alara, and Banu. Her husband tragically died a year previously in the Battle of the Boneway against King Yorick Ironwood, who is defiantly resisting Nymeria and her forces as they are sweeping through Dorne and claiming the country for the Rhoynar people, leaving House Calvos without a patriarch. Our 2 players that we have here, Sagaramund, played by Tom, is a noble knight of the mid bit. I forgot what the mid bit of the Vale. I hate the middle of Westeros. The Vale is nothing to me. But he comes from there, and he's sworn to House Carvos and Lady Soraya herself. Don Tibalto Sand is a servant working at the house. He's the horse master, and he comes from the town itself. He is not of Rhoynish blood. He is Dornish and lives in the village with his aged mother. The daughters Alara and Nyla have somewhat of a bad reputation in town, as they are known to go drinking and whoring at their pleasure and not really giving a shit about noble life and its requirements and its duties or any sort of responsibility whatsoever. We had fights in taverns. We have had paying off fishermen for sleeping with their daughters. We have had charging through town at full tilt on their horses, sending feasting tables flying and killing an old woman, which, by the way, has caused somewhat of an upset in the town as the Dornish people of Ghost Hill are starting to get sick of the Rhoynar and their nobility and taking advantage of them and their lands. In the meantime, Princess Mariah Martell, the eldest daughter of Nymeria, has arrived. She is a girl of 8 years old, and she's come with a retinue of people. And she comes to pay her respects to the lost Carvos and to broker a marriage between Nyla and a young man of House Santagar, the second son. A marriage which was accepted. Soraya accepted the marriage, and Nyla did too. However, the young Santagar seems a little bit more interested in someone else. He is a hedonistic young man who's more interested in drinking and dancing than he is in politics, which I'm sure won't come up again at all in the game, so don't worry about that particular plot point. But where we are right now, things are getting tense in the village in Ghost Hill as the Dornish people are demanding something be done about the death of this woman, and tensions are high between the Rhoynar and the Dornish. And where we join it right now, Sigarmond. It is the evening of the climax of the festival, when the lighthouse will be lit, and you know this is also the night that Banu will swim the gap. He will do the ritual. He will take the flame across that stretch of water and light that sacred pyre. Water, which is shark infested, by the way, just as a little, you know, because this is fine. The castle, I just looked at fucking chat.
I see a little red flag waving somewhere in the background.
We've already started with the Les Mis references. I see the chairs and the tables going up on the barricades already. The keep, because it's not a castle. The keep is a hive of activity as servants and people are rushing around, getting everything ready for that big. There's a big sort of like speech, a big ceremony that happens on the beach. On the night of the gap being swum, there's usually a couple of people that do it, you know, young men that are reaching adulthood, or, you know, other people wanting to go on spiritual little quests to do this. So people are flooding around, and there's food being brought, there's wine, like huge casks of wine are being poured around, and the handmaids and the like are rushing around to get everyone's outfits ready and get everything prepared. And Banu, he is dressed simply, as you know, he's going to be getting into his trunks, basically, his Westerosi swimming trunks to swim the gap. And he is in the courtyard, and he is pacing. He's very nervous. And he's just back and forth in the courtyard.
Okay. So at this moment, probably Garamond isn't wearing his armor. He is probably in kind of something quite a loose shirt, probably quite cool. He's still got his sword hanging to his side in a scabbard, and he probably has his shield with him, just slung over another shoulder. Maybe a few van braces, but essentially the chain. He isn't wearing the chainmail, because chain and water do not mix very well. And he's probably been talking to people, organizing things here and there. He might have even gone to the side to talk to a few of the local guards who are particularly good at swimming, to be prepared, you know, just as a contingency plan should things go wrong. I mean, Garamond will go in, but he's not a very strong swimmer. So, you know, just making sure that everything's okay, getting reports, how the town is reacted to the festivities and stuff, and basically just to make sure there's no trouble at this final ceremony.
You get reports from the town There has been pockets of disturbances. There've been,
Mm,
bricks and amphoras thrown.
mm,
Great word, by the way, amphora. But nothing on a huge scale right now. And it seems that as the evening is pushing on, and the food and the wine is flowing more, if there are dissidents, they aren't right now fighting in the streets against the guards. You know what I mean? There's not
yeah.
like big scale protests happening right now.
Hmm.
Things seems to
Hmm.
have spread out a little bit, seems to have calmed a little bit.
Okay.
Which actually worries the guard you're talking to, because he tells you that if they aren't there in the streets fighting, then they're planning something. Yeah,
Okay.
he worries.
With that, then, Garamon's probably in the process of increasing guard, um, like in the keep.
Mhm.
So obviously, when they go from the keep down to the thing, that to ensure the keep is secure, but also around the ceremony, there's going to be a fair bit of guards, particularly because there's a rather important person that's going to be there as well. So to make sure that they're on guard, they're keeping a watch. And as he's probably relaying this to the guard in front of him, he'll probably notice Bennu kind of like doing the nervous, walking back and forth. And Garamon's probably recognizes it. Probably he saw it like the first time maybe he was going into battle, or maybe before a tournament in his long distant past. And he'll just nod to the guard to carry out his orders, and he'll kind of stroll over to Bennu and kind of like stand there for a while and watch him, and will say, "You all right, my lord?"
And it takes Banu a moment or two to even recognize that you're there. He's so in his own head, and he's like,
Hmm.
you can hear him muttering to himself. And you would be familiar with what he's muttering. This is a prayer to the Mother Royne, just to make sure that he doesn't drown. As you would know from your time spent with the people of House Carvos, that the Royna were people who lived along a great river. So everything in their life involved water. They were on boats all the time. They lived next to the river. They were born on water. They'll die on water. That whole sort of thing. And he's muttering this prayer. And he looks up at you, and you can see he is just anxious as shit across his face.
Mhm.
And he goes, Sir Germund, hello.
Nervous?
I think yes.
Good, good.
Good.
You should be nervous.
I feel like I'm going to be sick.
And he'll kind of approach, and he'll find something to kind of just sit down on. He'll put the shield down to one side, and he'll readjust the sword so he's just sitting down. And he'll turn to Bennu. You scared?
Am I what?
Scared?
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
I don't. How is that good? I thought fear is a thing that will, like, make me falter in the moment.
Who told you that?
I don't know. I heard it from someone at some point.
No, my lord. Only fools say such things. Fear. Fear is a good thing. It makes you sharper, makes you quicker, gets the adrenaline pumping.
I feel like I could outrun the fastest horse in the world right now.
Good, good. You'll need that when you're swimming. Let me tell you,
Mm.
every single person who goes into battle experiences fear. It's how you use it. That is what brave people do. Every single one of them experiences fear, but they use it in a different way. Now, let me tell you how I did in my first tourney. I was probably about 15, and I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. I was going up against these strong, noble knights that have been around for years. I idolized them, watching from afar. But this was my turn to make my mark. So when it came, I was so scared I couldn't even hold my shield up and the sword in my hand. And I was soundly beaten. Oh, I was soundly beaten. But what happened then is that I was helped up. He dusted me off. And he just said, "You'll get it right next time." And I nodded. And I went again. And each time, it got a little easier. And ever since then, I've always felt that fear, no matter what it was. Through battle, through tournaments, I feel that fear. And I use it. You channel it in the right way. And it'll be an ally to you.
All right. Just one thing though, Sir Garamond, that if I fail, I will be eaten alive by sharks. I can't just get back up and do it again if I'm missing a leg.
No, that's true. That's true. Best you don't fail then.
Oh God, I'm going to be sick. And he sort of walks off into a corner, and you hear him like dry heave a little bit.
And he'll get up and kind of just like tap him on the on the back. My lord.
One other question.
Mm.
Have you ever, swam with sharks before?
No, I can't say I have.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I asked Tiboto, and he said that
Why?
it was like he said it was like making love. And well, I haven't done that either. So if you have any advice.
I wouldn't think that swimming with sharks is like making love, my lord. I'm not quite sure I understand what you meant by that.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't either, but you know what they say about him, right? You heard what they said about him?
No.
And he sort of leans in and says this quietly. They say that Tiboto has taken a shark as a lover.
I wouldn't believe everything you hear, my lord. Probably just some story that people have put out.
Right. But why would they say that about him?
I don't know. I'm not from around here, am I?
I mean, he walks with horses. If anything, you'd say he fucked a horse. Why
Ideally, I do not know, my lord. Maybe did you ask him for some advice? Oh yes, you did, didn't you?
Mhm.
You said it's mate like in love. I would rely more on your own ability than that, my lord. It's I'm not quite sure what to say to that.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's why I asked you and not, my mother.
I'm sure your mother would have a good laugh over that. Look, my lord, I asked you that night whether or not you were ready to do this.
Mm.
And I saw in your eyes that you were ready. And I know we may not feel like it at this time, but deep down, you know you're ready. You hold on to that. You believe in yourself and your ability, and you will succeed. Of that I have no doubt.
Mm. And he looks at you. And he puts a goes for one of those like manly arm sort of embraces. And he's like 16 years old. He's been training for many, many years. He's a
Yeah, yeah,
physically fit young man.
he
And
might even be a little stronger than. Well, he's definitely more dexterous than Garamond.
you feel it, like as he clamps your
Yeah.
arm and sort of gives you that squeeze, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But he's kind of shaking somewhat. He's still nervous, but he's putting on a good front.
If you're still nervous, my lord,
Mhm.
and he'll reach down and he'll pull a knife and hand it to him. If one of the sharks get too close to you, stab it to death.
He takes it, he looks at you, looks at the knife, looks it over. What kind of knife is it? Is it from the Vale or is it a Dornish or Rhoynar knife?
I will say it's a local knife, a Dornish knife. That probably he just picked up from the armory and he was just holding it. So yeah, I'd say it's a local Dornish knife.
All right. Not giving him your nice parrying dagger or anything. No.
No. Not wasting that in the ocean or rust. Fucking hell.
Wow. That is your lord, you shitbag. So he tucks the knife into the belt that he has. And he looks at you, he nods, and gives you that sort of like manly, sort of soldiery, sort of thank you. And he wanders off to go get ready.
Okay.
And it's in the courtyard now, things have quieted down. Most of the staff in the keep have done what they needed to do. Everything's about ready to go. There's a couple of guards coming here and there, doing last minute patrols of the keep. But you see a procession with the princess, Nymeria. She makes her way through the halls, past the courtyard. Because I imagine the courtyard's very central to the keep.
Yes.
It's all like built around. And you see her come underneath. It's like the pillars with a little, like a very Roman sort of villa, like a middle bit. And the princess walks through, and you see behind her, like her shadow, Lady Silver Ulla, this huge woman, clad head to toe in scale armor. Her helmet comes across her face, and you can only really just see her eyes and like her nose coming through. Feathers pluming out of the top of it. And she has with her whole retinue. The Santigar boy is there, as is her chaperones and everyone else as they come through. Lady Soraya is not there with her as of yet, but you see them coming through, getting ready to go. Is there anything you'd like to do before everybody sets off?
So Lady Soraya isn't there yet.
No.
I would probably try and go and find her so that I'm with her as the procession goes out, because I think it would be right for him to be her bodyguard to essentially just be right with her. So he'll probably try and go look for her, whether she's in her own bed chambers or elsewhere. He'll try and find her.
Okay, yeah. So you catch her as she is in her quarters, in her chambers. She's currently getting changed and being attended to. You'll wait there a moment because it's not proper for you to go in there while
Of
she's
course,
getting dressed.
no, yeah.
And she comes out of that room and she's putting an earring in, and she looks you up and down. Sigarment.
Milady.
Is everything ready to go?
As ready as they'll ever be. Are you ready yourself?
And she adjusts her jewelry. She's got like a beautiful golden collar with like blue lapis lazuli, like teardrops, like almost like water drops coming around the neck. A dress of spun silks, very heavy, that come across her chest and flow down. There's a lot of water imagery in what she's wearing right now. But you see she's wearing these bracelets, these big thick bracelets that have the flames of House Carvos on them. And she looks very impressive in all this regalia. This is her best clothing, and she adjusts the little like golden headband thing she's wearing. I think I'm ready. Have you spoken to Banu?
I have, milady. He was a little nervous in the courtyard, which is to be expected.
And he's still adamant about going through this.
I think he is.
She sighs. Oh, God's good. I think the gods give us children to test us.
It is the right thing for him to do,
I know.
lady.
And with everything happening in the town right now, it's a good gesture.
It's a very shrewd gesture, lady.
Mm-hmm.
You raised him well.
I hope so.
Have faith in his ability,
Faith,
and he will see you proud.
faith is all I have. Right. And then she adjusts her stuff once more. She gets her dress ready, a little belt. Shall we?
After you.
And she leads the way through the house, and to the front where carriages are waiting. And it's more of less a carriage with wheels and a more of a, I forget the name for it. Where
Palanquin? Is it?
palanquin.
I can't remember.
Palanquin.
Palanquin, that's it. Palanquin.
Yes. And which, not necessarily the greatest image in the world, but with how treacherous some of the rocky outcroppings are here, it's probably the safer option of getting the princess down to the shore for this particular ceremony.
Is pretty much everyone else on foot then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. It was just whether or not I always have to get duty or something, but if no one else is getting their horse. Nah.
No. And it's only the princess too, and her chaperone, obviously, in the palanquin. But even Lady Soraya walks. Because you can't hop
you can't
down.
upstay a prince.
You can't.
No.
And it's quite a procession as you see all these guards, and the guards from Princess Martell are up in resplendent golds, with they're in their parade best with these big feathery plumes from their helmets. Think a cross between like a Greek soldier with like the feathers and stuff, and the Romans, right? The centurions when they're in their full gear with the shields and the spears, and they walk alongside the palanquin as it comes down the slope to the shore, and it is quite a treacherous journey. A couple of the people walking with you trip here and there, but it is a beautiful sight as you see down the cliff, the ocean spreading out. And you can see the port, which is quite busy. But on the horizon, you see that there is a big storm. The clouds are thick and heavy, and you see bolts of lightning coming down. You can see at somewhat of a distance that the ocean is turbulent. And a couple of ships in port are already sort of like the port water is already bubbling up and down. Pathetic fallacy. We love it. And you can see that great lighthouse with its light, bright and beautiful, a beacon out there. As you see the town, and the town from up here looks peaceful. It doesn't look like it's on fire. It doesn't look like there's an uprising there at all.
Always a good thing. Garamond will probably ask a local guard in regards to this ceremony whether or not bad weather will stop the ceremony. It'll be called off when the referee has a look at the ocean.
The referee goes out. Nah, mate.
Nah, mate, you're not doing that today.
The guard looks at you and he says, no, sir. The gap is swum on this particular day. It's a holy day. And whether or not the oceans tremble, the gap is swum.
Thank you.
And he looks at it there and he's like, I wouldn't want to be doing it today, though. Mm-mm.
Garamond will just look at him and go, as you were.
So, to attention.
Yeah.
He gives a side eye to his mate. His mate's like, you wank. Shut the fuck up.
And we'll carry on just heading down.
All right. So as you head down to the beach, Tabalto! Hello, friend. Ugh.
Hello.
Hello. So you are making your
Hello.
way through the sort of Shambly hut area. The rundown slums is the word I was looking for of Ghost Hill where you live with your mother. And we're fresh in the mind is your conversation you had with her, where she basically revealed that she was a part of an anarchist knitting circle, and that the mood of the town is not necessarily a joyous one on the night of the feast. You bumped into that small child, the rat catcher. Um, but the town itself seems to have leveled out somewhat. There are still people who, as they pass a guard, will shout something obscene at them, or throw some dirt or a bit of shit or something at them. But it's not a full-scale war yet. Where are you headed? What are you up to?
And so I think Tibalto, climbed back up onto the little tiny thatch roof of his and his mother's home
Mm-hmm.
to finish his meal, his small meal. He gave most of the food that he'd stolen to his mom. And he probably dropped in just to say goodbye and to remind his ma that she promised not to go to the festival
Mm-hmm.
tonight. And then, he's just walking around at first. He can see that storm on the horizon, and uh, that doesn't concern him. In fact, he loves storms. And so he is keeping an eye on his surroundings. He's noting, these interactions with the guards. But everywhere he goes, he's sort of a bright presence. He's whistling. If he sees any children that have been dispersed, the apples and the other food that he gave to Ratcatcher,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he gives them a conspiratorial wink and pats them on the head as he goes around. And he seems like he's just wandering around waiting for the festival to begin, saying hello to locals and friends that he knows. But what he's really doing is keeping an eye out for nobles, especially any wealthy merchants or nobles who look like they're not from Ghost Hill, who are out of towners.
Okay. So I would say you are mostly going to find those kinds of people towards the port. It's somewhat self-contained, as in like there's the port obviously, and then there's some warehouses nearby where things are stored for trade. But also those that have made coin there have set up their own little taverns and little inns around there, and there's a little shopping district, little market even around the port because that's where the moolah is. And that's where tend to be the merchants and the sailors will hang out. They don't tend to disperse too much into the town. They're trying to keep around with the boats.
Okay. Then he would love to, as he's strolling through the town and out of his neighborhood towards the port, which is, pretty close to where I imagine like
Oh
they're
yeah.
going to swim probably from the beach, right? Right, not right on the port, but like pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
He'll look for a tavern, a pub that has maybe like an outdoor wall. I imagine if it's facing the ocean, maybe there's one that, you go in, it's covered from the top, but it's open to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And sit down next to if he sees somebody, if he sees somebody he knows, he'll sit down and order an ale.
Yeah, so people that tend to work here are people from Ghost Hill, so it's feasible that someone that works at this tavern. Maybe someone behind the bar or someone collecting mugs. And they
Okay.
see you, they give you a little like they know a drink for Tibalto, and they give you a little acknowledgement, and before long, a drink is given to you.
Okay.
And
And so he'll sit down with his back to the bar so he can kind of keep an eye out towards any nobles who might be wandering outside, but also be able to converse.
Yeah, okay. So you can see as you're watching basically the port come and go, and a ship is in harbor right now, and it looks a little worse for wear. The sail is battered and torn, and a couple of the decking timbers seem to have seen some damage. Storm damage. One of the masts, this is a multi-mast ship, one of the masts has come down entirely, and the rigging is just all over the fucking place. And you see that there's people there working on it, trying to repair it as best they can. But you see a couple of sailors come off that boat, and they absolutely are not from around here. Their skin is pale, and their hair is very light. Like browns, like blondes. One looks like platinum blonde. You know, it's just like really, really blonde. And there's a couple of them, and they are wearing like heavy traveling cloaks over their clothing. And they're grouped together. They're not dispersing. When you watch sailors, you know, they get off the boat and they're like, fucking freedom. And then they disperse. These guys are sticking together. And they seem to be chatting amongst themselves as they walk. And your friend at the bar leans over the bar behind you and says, that ship came in a few hours ago.
Oh, do you have any idea who they are?
I don't have a fucking clue, but I wouldn't want to be them. Have you seen the state of it?
Yes, I would not want to have to sail all the way back to wherever they came from. Not with that ship, anyhow. Say, did you know that I am going to be even more famous after tonight?
Oh, why? What are you going to do?
Well, I have the honor to swim the gap yet again, this time with the young Lord Benu. His first time. He could not do it without the Bolto.
No, of course not. How many times has that been now for you?
I think 6, 7, maybe.
Shh. Most of us are mad enough to only do it once.
Well, it does not benefit you to be afraid of shark-infested water. You know the reason why these sharks are there.
Still, have you seen those things? Oh, those fucking teeth.
Oh, yes, my friend, I have seen them very close and personal.
The bottle, my friend. When you say things
Yes.
like that, it doesn't help with the shark fucking rumors.
Yeah, let people say whatever they want to say about the Bolto.
Well, I
It
mean,
just adds to my mystique.
and hey, if it's true, then you're a fucking braver man than I am.
Who's to say? That is between me and the shark.
Huh? Well, and he holds up a mug of ale to you and the shark.
He clinks with the ale, takes a sip, and then swings back around in his little bar stool and looks back out to clock those merchants, nobles, foreigners.
Mm-hmm. These foreigners make their way up to the tavern. And one of them, the one with light brown hair, it's a young man, light blonde, not like light brown hair, pale white skin. He comes up and in very broken Dornish, he asks for 4 mugs of ale for him and his companions. And your friend behind the bar gives you like a side look, you know, like okay, as he pours out 4 mugs of ale and hands them to them, and he says back, you know, thank you, before he heads back to his other friends have taken up like a little table overlooking the pier so they can see their ship, and they are very much not interacting with the bar all that much. You know, they're doing that thing where you like sit on a little corner booth and you're like, I don't want to fucking acknowledge that anyone else is in here. And their clothing is wet and heavy. It looks like the cloaks they're wearing are thick, heavy wool across their shoulders. And they're talking quietly amongst themselves, but you can hear little snippets of things in a language that you are not familiar with.
Are there still sailors working on their ship outside?
Yes. Though as the weather's getting worse, you can see the efforts to rebuild that ship are, you know, dwindling somewhat.
Yeah. Okay. Tabalto, looks back out to the ship. He looks over to the table of these foreigners and he leans back and to his friend at the bar, he says, Are you still a sucker for a dare? Or have you given up that?
He sighs. He goes, "What kind of dare?"
Oh, nothing too bad. He looks back to the table. Are these men armed?
They don't seem to be. If they are carrying weapons, it's nothing more than a knife. They don't have like
Okay.
swords swung, slung at their hips or anything like that.
Eh, these people over here, these patrons of yours, uh, I am curious if you might be able to say, uh, convince them to test out some of your private ale, your special stock that you keep in the back.
Okay. And if I do that, what's in it for me?
Uh, what do you want? I'm swimming the gap tonight. So tomorrow I will be the talk of the town. I could say anything about you. I could start a rumor about you that makes you just as famous as the Bolton.
Hmm. Fucking all I have in the back of my mind is I'm Commander Shepard and this is my favorite tavern in Citadel. No. Okay, I'd like you to roll me a persuasion convince to convince this guy.
Oh, that's one of my dumb stats.
Uh-oh.
That's not actually true. It's not entirely true.
Oh.
An
Okay.
11.
All right. So he looks at you and there is a pained expression on his face as he whispers something quietly to himself, looks over his shoulder and goes, all right. Oh, God's help me. And you see him
And
walk over. Oh, go ahead.
and as he's starting to walk over to Balto, leans in, says, "Just remember, if there's ever any problems tonight, that the Martells are here in town, and it is easy to pass the blame off onto them. Their servants."
He smiles and he goes, that I can use. And so you see him walk over to this table and the people there sort of look at him and he's chatting to them. He's doing that like, bartender conversation. He's like picking up a couple of mugs and you hear him sort of like spin them this tale that the royal family are in town today and that he's prepared a special stock, but he's got some extra if he wants to try it, but he can't obviously bring it out in front of all these patrons and like gestures to you. Um, and so if they want to try this special stock, they're clearly men of taste. So look at what they're wearing. He's hitting them with all that like sort of like Westerosi used car salesman stuff. And I'm gonna do a roll. We'll just see. Wait, hang on. I need to. Okay. So there is some back and forth between the men at the table. There's a bunch of translation going on. You hear more of that strange language, and it sounds very. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. It sounds very formal in its language. There's a lot of like the sentences are quite long, and a lot of very hard consonants that get hit when they're talking. Some interesting sounds are made in this language. And there's some communication, some translating back and forth, some questions. And the guy who's doing the translating, he looks at your friend and he goes, all right, let's see what you've got. And they get up from the table and your friend leads them towards the back and he gives you that sort of like exaggerated wink as he walks past and leads them into the back of the tavern.
Can I have set something up and do something as they're doing that?
Hell yeah, let's
Can I
go.
try? Can I
Yeah.
try?
Yeah.
All right. So Tabalto, as they're talking, he just casually stands up from his stool at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He takes his mug of ale. He walks to the corner of the bar that he knows they'll have to kind of walk through and past to get to the back. He sets his mug so that it's halfway off the edge of the bar and halfway on the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Bumping into it would cause it potentially to spill.
Okay.
Then he turns around and he walks away from them as they start to stand up and move to the back. And he's going to try very quickly, very quietly, hoping to time it just right, that if that mug spills or if he has the opportunity, just a quick cut purse. That's all he wants.
Okay.
He's looking for the one with the heaviest looking bag, and he's looking to bring it with him out of the tavern.
Okay. So you get a better look at these men as they step up and walk towards the back, towards this mug of ale. And the man with very light blonde hair, he seems to be carrying the biggest purse on his belt. And it's just a leather purse tied to his belt. And you can see it's very nice leather. It's embossed. And there's like gold thread sewn around the top of it. And his belt is very fine also. And you get a glimpse of his clothing underneath, which is made of these very rich silks in patterns that you've never seen before here in Dorne. Not even the Roynar wear these patterns. And as as they walk past the table, this guy, he sort of clips that mug and it spills onto him. And he flicks back his cloak and he looks up, and as you do, you see a flash of his face. And he has very thin features, very strong sort of jawline, and bright violet eyes. And he wipes the ale off himself, and you hear him curse something loudly. You don't know what he said, but it's absolutely a swear word with how he said it. And your friend immediately is like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," and he goes to distract him with a rag to wipe him down, and he's like trying to brush him away, but also, he's letting him wipe this ale off him. So, let's have from you. Is there there is a thievery skill. Let's have, is it steal or sleight of hand? I will allow like arguments for either.
I think, I don't know. I think steal makes the most sense. That's like what he's trying to do.
Okay.
But I could see sleight of hand too. I don't know. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, they're basically the same thing, right? So,
there's probably just a moment of hesitation when he sees the purple eyes.
uh-huh.
He's not the most worldly known person. Like, he's not the most worldly individual. But I think everybody knows what purple eyes means, right?
Mm-hmm. You would definitely have heard tale of why the Roynar are here, and that's because of the Valyrians that drove them out of their land. And you would have heard of the Valyrians too, and their characteristics.
I mean, I can't I can't help myself. Yeah, of course he's gonna try to rob this Valyrian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, you do have 3 bonus die.
I'll spend a bonus die. I'll totally spend a bonus dice for this. So bonus die 1. Wait a second. There we go. Wow, how did I roll so poorly? It's like all ones. A 9.
Okay, so shit, this went in a direction I wasn't expecting. I thought you were gonna pull this off. The Valerian guy, it's unfortunately not enough to beat his passive awareness. So he notices as you approach, and you make a move for his coin purse, and he takes a step back and holds out a hand, and he's shouting something at you in Valerian, in a language you don't understand. And the mood amongst his friends is suddenly, they were laughing at him for spilling that ale, and now they're all fucking deadly serious and looking right at you.
Balto does not give on any hint of fear or that, he gets that they're even apprehensive. Instead, as he's kind of stumbling towards him, he actually does stumble a little bit on purpose, almost like he's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes his shirt, his tunic, and even if they can't understand him, he says in Dornish, "Oh, my friend, you have gotten ale all over you." And he starts trying to clean this Valerian's shirt off with his probably fairly dirty tunic.
Okay. Um, so make me a let's see, because this is an absolute lie. This is will be a
Yes.
deception bluff.
Well, I'll spend another bonus die on this, because otherwise it's going to be fleeing through my own town from Valyrians. All right, I'll spend a bonus die. Yeah, Tabalto's not. This is one of my dump stats.
Oh no.
A 9,
A
another
9.
9.
Okay. Um, the men do not necessarily wholesale buy into your excuse that you are helping clean off. And the one that can speak some Dornish steps forward and just yells enough at you and to back away, to get away from them.
And he puts up his hands and gets like sober, serious really quickly. And he steps back and he says, I am so sorry. I did not mean to offend you. But perhaps you, since you're here, would like to know tonight. It is the night where we swim the gap. I am letting all people who have never seen the joy of this event before an honor of swimming the shark-infested waters during the choppy, stormy night. That I will be swimming the gap tonight if you wish to see what it is like to swim. Well, come to the beach.
He looks at you. No, go ahead.
Goodbye. He turns, walks away very quickly.
You hear as you leave, you hear this one man get very Karen-y. This sort of establishment that you own. Is there even alcohol back there? We will not give you patronage and all this shit anymore. And as you leave, you can see the group of 4 men sort of leave in a huff and go back towards their ship somewhat. They're going back towards their ship, and you can hear them again talking loudly in this language that you don't quite understand. And people are like sort of like looking at them, and there's a couple of Roynish people that are like you can see a couple like double takes as they're like, excuse the fuck out of me, as they notice these people. But the night is yours. Where are you headed after this?
Well, Tibalto is used to failing at things. He's the sort of person that just bounces off of one wall and then walks straight to the next wall. And so, he walks out of the tavern quickly. He does, kind of watch where they go a little bit, but he doesn't slow down. And imagine the storm's getting closer at this point.
It is indeed. Yeah. Rain has started to hit the town now. So, usually there's like rain before the big storm hits. So like it starts off gentle and soon comes heavier. And people are starting to not necessarily head indoors, but cloth is brought up above people's heads, and people are sometimes sheltering in doorways, but a lot of people are just unperturbed. They're like way in their cups at this point, and they're just like, oh, because it's been quite a hot day today.
And how long do I have before usually the swimming of the gap occurs?
You've got maybe, I would say, 2 hours before the swimming happens.
Okay.
It's almost at midnight when it happens, so it's when the night is dark, and when that flame will be brightest. So you've got a little bit of time.
Then in that case, I think he circles around away from the dock for a while and away from the Valyrian and the foreigners. That close encounter, and he's aimless at this point. He knows he has to swim the gap. He knows that there will be festivities. He's keeping an eye out for opportunities, but also he's enjoying the rain. And so, I think there's a moment where like he moves away from the docks and climbs up a little hill that kind of overlooks some of the bluff there, some of the sea, and just spreads his arms out wide, turns his face up to the sky, and flips back his soaked hair and just kind of drinks it in. And then when he gets bored of that, he heads back down and starts wandering between alleyways and greeting people he knows gregariously along the way.
All right. And the mood with the rain and things like that, people are in a slightly better mood. I'm not saying that this rebellion is fixed because of some rain, but, as I said earlier, the discussions now of fighting back tend to be a little quieter. The conflicts are spread out. So the people you meet are generally of good spirit. They're also out there drinking, enjoying the rain, dancing, playing their music. A lot of these people don't intend to go down to watch the gap being swum if they don't know who's going. But a couple people see you, and they ask you, like, "Oh, Tibalto, where are you going? What's going on?" Like,
He'll call back and he'll say, "I'm swimming the gap with Benul. He needs me. I will take the young lord all the way to the lighthouse, if you know what I mean." And then he just walks on.
fucking, woo, take him to the lighthouse. Dang. You get a couple of cheers, and then you get a couple of people coming with you. They're like, "Oh, I gotta see this shit. Let's go. Let's swim in the gap.
I love it.
Yeah." So you get a little throng of people with you, and they're quite jovial as they're coming down. And so we'll do a little timey-wimey nonsense because it's an RPG and we can do that. As you arrive at the shore, at the place you would go to for the gap swimming, you can see that the royal procession is already here, and they've set up a little stage. It's covered with a beautiful, what the fuck do they call that? Like with the fabric.
Curtain.
Yeah, like a curtain, like a little fabric roof to keep the rain off the princess, because she'll dissolve, obviously, if she gets wet. And you can see, it's all set up and to be like much more of a spectacle than usually when swimming the gap. Swimming the gap it's more of a religious affair for a lot of people here at Ghost Hill. It is done with ceremony, but it's not like, ooh, glitz glam, we're gonna have big pagodas and gold everywhere. It's quite solemn, really, in terms of sort of people awning pavilion. Thank you very much, chat. But you can see there's a whole like freaking circus here with the princess and her retinue and all the guards, and Lady Soraya is sat there with the princess. Nyla and Alara are there too. The Santagar boy is sat next to Nyla because of their upcoming betrothal. And he is, he's jovial, he's smiling, he's doing like a very like Prince Charming from Shrek 2 sort of face, he's all like giving his little hair flips with his blonde hair. He is naturally looking at Alara a lot, but you wouldn't know that as Tibalto. I'm just putting that out there for the audience. And you can see, a lot of the small folk have also gathered. And you can see a couple of the younger lads that are intending to swim the gap today too. And they are ready. They're doing the stretches. They're in their little like loincloth swimming trunks, as it were. None of them are carrying any weapons that you can see or anything like that. They intend to go into the water and come back out of the water. That's what they're gonna do. And you see the young Lord Banu, and he is there alongside the others. And he's dressed in a very similar fashion, but his looks finer. Obviously, it's a nicer cloth that he's wearing. And you can see tucked into the back of it is the hilt of a Dornish dagger. And he's doing his stretches. He's shaking out his wrists and his ankles. And he's looking around, and he looks nervous. But you can see him close his eyes and try and center himself, and he looks out to the water, and you see that great brazier in front of you, which is already lit with a beautiful flame, and you see in the distance out on the sandbank the brazier which is not yet lit, and he's looking at it, and he's focusing. Is there anything you'd like to do as you arrive?
Yeah, I have a question, and
Yes.
I feel like I should know that. I mean, he would know this. I feel like I did know this, but I can't remember. What is the religious significance of swimming the gap?
So the people of Ghost Hill before anybody arrived here, before you lot arrived, they worshipped fire. They had a fire deity that they, you know, worshipped and kept as their patron deity. And swimming the gap would be where you light the brazier on the sandbank, which is a sort of like a smaller lighthouse. There's the big lighthouse, which the family use for nefarious reasons sometimes. And then there's the smaller brazier out on the sandbank on a little island that is the sacred one. It's a sacred site of this fire deity. And swimming the gap, you would carry this torch out, swim through this water, keep the torch alight as you light the brazier. And it's a way to honor this deity. It's a way to do something dangerous. You know, it's a coming of age sort of ceremony. Now, with the Rhoynar, when they arrived, the Rhoynar obviously came from Mother Rhoyne, which is a water-based deity. They lived on the river. And they, in a very Roman fashion, was like, oh, they have this tradition already about swimming. Guess what? Ours now. Your god, our god. And they adopted that as a way to sort of integrate with the people, but also, you know, carry on their worship of the Mother Rhoyne as well.
Okay. So, you know, this is a solemn affair, and people are stretching and taking it seriously. Bennu looks nervous, staring into the flame. But people would probably know it's like this every time he does it. Tibalto isn't, you know, particularly reverent when it comes to this event. So he comes with his retinue. He's got a couple of mugs of ale that he's grabbed along the way. And he comes down singing the sea shanty. Stops singing once he can see, oh, there's the royal family, you know, the nobles. You know, I'm not going to make a huge scene here, but they'll see that I have my retinue. And he'll wander down to Bennu and stand just over his shoulder, and glance at the flame and glance at the boy, and he'll chug half of his mug of ale, let out a belch, and offer the other mug to Bennu and say, hey, don't follow the lead of these other boys. Stretching is not going to help you out there. You need this. I would drink it quickly, and if you want to hear a secret about that water and those sharks out there, I will tell you something that no one else in the entire world knows besides Tibalto.
Okay, he looks at you over his shoulder, and you see already is sweating bullets. But he takes the jug and he chugs it, and he, much like yourself, there's a burp because you know when you chug beer, that's what happens. There's a burp that swells in his chest, and you can see him like go, and like trying to suppress it so he's not belching in front of the princess. And he downs it, tipped it upside down. All right, what's the secret?
I'm sure you have heard some of the stories and histories of that lighthouse out there. But those stories, they are only partially true. It is true many men have drowned in the gap or ships have crashed coming to our shore. But the sharks, the reason they are out there is because the souls of those dead men linger in the water. They seek the warmth of the living. And so they take the bodies of those sharks for themselves. They become the sharks. They cannot leave the shore. That is why there are so many out there. They are locked forever in that place so that they can always be near the lighthouse. But there is a reason to go out there and to brave it. A secret in the lighthouse. Something hidden within its walls. An object that if you hold it in your hands, Bennu, you can command the souls of those dead. You can speak to the sharks. They will let you pass. This is how I know you and I, we have nothing to fear.
What do you mean you can command the sharks? What kind of object would let you do that?
Well, I do not understand magic. What do I look like? A sorcerer, Banu? But some little trinket. Something special. Perhaps we can go find it if you want.
He looks at you, and the story of all the souls of the drowned men taking over the sharks, you can see he's like, what the fuck? His eyes widen a little bit as you hit that bit of the story. And he looks you over and he's like, Boto, you've served our house for many, many years. And I've counted you amongst one of the people I can trust in my house, but fuck me, you sound like a madman right now.
I am used to people calling me a madman, but do I seem like a madman to you? I come to the stables every day. I take care of the horses. I care for your family in the small ways that I am able. I care for my mother, who was one of the village's great healers.
And he looks at you and he nods.
Would I steer you wrong, Benu?
He looks again. I'd hope not. I trust.
Do not. Good. You should not believe everything that you learn from your books and your instructors and your teachers and your knights is the truth. There is a world out there, Banu. Something that they cannot see, something they do not know. And you can only learn about that world by being in the sea, by being amongst the people and knowing them, really knowing them. Not cattle, friends.
And he nods. And he's a very, like, it gives you like a very understanding nod. He understands, that what you're saying makes sense. You can't rule a people, you can't know a people from just observing them from a distance. And just as he's about to like talk to you a bit further, he's interrupted as a priest takes a stage and begins a speech about this evening and the significance of the flame and what it means to carry the flame, what it means to swim across the gap, across these treacherous waters above these wrecks. Unfortunately, I don't have a speech ready for you folks. I'm sorry. I just have to pretend it's a really epic one. And the crowd goes quiet. There was a lot of talking, a lot of hubbub as everyone was preparing. But everyone falls quiet and everyone pays attention to this priest. Even the princess, who was, she's fucking 8. So she was talking to people, she's being given fucking sweets and shit. She's silent, she's watching this priest, and everyone's kind of reverent to this priest. And he takes he wears a glove, a very thick glove, and you see him put his hand into the brazier and pull out a coal, and the leather on his glove is on fire, and it impresses folks, like, this guy's got a fucking fiery hand, and he speaks about finding the truth in the flames, about finding your life's path within the flame. Like the lighthouse guides ships to shore, the flame will guide you across your future and keep you safe and protect you and all that kind of deal. And before long, he instructs the swimmers to come forward, and a separate glove, which is covered in ash, comes across, and an assistant of the priest wears it, and he dips into a pot of ash and wipes a hand across each of the swimmers' shoulders, and talks about this giving them the strength to continue, and then one across their chest to give them the breath to make it across. And he does this for each of them, and it comes up to you, across the shoulders, across the chest, and the assistant says, again, Tiboto.
Alto finishes chugging his ale when he's like at the one next to him in line right before he gets to him, and he tosses the ale, the empty mug, back into the sand behind him and like kind kind of stretches his shoulder, just one shoulder, not both, and looks back to his crew and gives them, probably not a thumbs up, gives them a meaningful nod and a wink. And then he spreads his chest out, making himself ready for the priest. And he says, well, I cannot let these young ones go out there alone and think that there's no one looking out for them. Plus, I just love the words, the meaning of the ceremonies so much. It touches me deeply. I look forward to it every year. He spreads his chest out.
And the priest does the shoulders and across your chest, and then gives you like a little thump. Good luck.
Thank you.
And he turns back and he pulls out a torch of wrapped, with the cloth and the fat on the end, so it burns, lights it, and he hands it to the princess. The princess comes forward, and she obviously doesn't know the words. She's got someone whispering in her ear what she has to say, but she steps forward and she hands the torch to Banu as he has stepped forward to claim the torch as the one to make it across. And she says, may the flame bless you, keep you, and may you return to us, hearty and hale. And Banu takes it and he gives a deep bow. He looks back at you. Showtime.
That's right, Benu. It is showtime.
And he begins the dash forward into the water. And as Banu starts the jog into the water, the men with you start jogging.
Benu's the only one who carries the torch, right? We don't all
Yes.
carry the torch.
No, it's just Banu.
Tebalto takes a deep breath. He lets some of the rain come down into his face for one more moment. He turns around and blows a wide kiss back at the crowd that's watching. And then he starts with a slow jog through the sand. But as he hears the waves crashing, as he's staring at the foam in the dark lit by that torchlight, his smile fades and there's a focus that comes over him. His eyes harden. He keeps his gaze on Banu, on the fire, and then he picks up his sprint, trying to pass some of the other boys who have run ahead to catch up with Banu.
Awesome. All right. So the crowd is already cheering. The second that Banu starts his jog towards the shore, people are like, yeah, woo! But then when you turn around and blow your big kiss, like just a little section of it's like, they start just like, woo! And start cheering. And you pick up your sprint and you outpace some of these younger lads doing this the gap today, and they're like 14, 15 years old, and they sort of like double glance at you, this old timer that's done it a couple of times. And you can see them try and keep up themselves. And before long, everybody is making that initial dive into the water to start swimming. And this is where I would like your first swim test, please, Don.
And Tebalto's not super old. He's 22, but compared to these kids,
Yeah, you might as well be 300 years
that's
old.
right. This is his 6th or 7th year probably swimming the gap. All right, so this is see if this goes as terribly as everything else does.
Oh God.
I hope so. I kind of hope so. All right, swim check.
Yeah, this is initially going to be a difficulty 6.
I got 14.
Okay, and let's see how Banu does. 22.
Damn.
Okay, so you see up ahead of you Banu with the torch. He dives into the water as if he was a seal, as if he was born in water, which actually he was. But as if he was half fucking fish. This kid just whoosh, the graceful, like Michael Phelps-esque fucking whoosh into the water, and he keeps that torch aloft as he's swimming with one arm. He's giving it some. And you too, you enter the water, no problem. I mean, this is nothing to you. The water is cold as it hits you. And it has that moment where even if you've been in the sea, even if you've been in the ocean as many times as you have in your life, that initial, like, still catches your breath, that cold. still catches you, and you feel the rain starting to increase in intensity above you now as you're diving into the water. But everybody else seems to make a good entrance too. Sorry, what was that, Dan?
No, that's great. Yeah, I was just curious what everybody else is doing.
Everybody else's initial is quite all right, and like it's not that deep where you are, but you know where you can't keep treading water anymore. You've got to just fucking dive in, even though you can stand up. You're at that sort of point. And you can feel as you're swimming that the waves are getting choppier. This storm is getting closer. And you know, you feel that you get that moment, that buoyancy where you just feel at home. You get that little, you settle into your rhythm to get comfortable in the water. But you can see up ahead of you the odd fin, dorsal fin of a shark come here or there. And they haven't quite yet been riled up to your presence as you have really just entered the water. They're not that inquisitive just yet that you're there. But you can see Banu, and he is up ahead of you with his 22. He is setting quite a fast pace now as he's heading into the water. Back on the stand, Tom, with Sigarment and the rest of the royal crew. You know, the royals, like when the small folks start cheering like fucking mad for the people diving in the water, you hear like the chaperone of the princess be like, how vulgar. But you know, Soraya, she is like leaning forward and she is like, fucking, that's my boy, that's my baby. She's looking, you know, and she's gripping, she's on one of those like Roman chairs, the little U-shaped thingies, and she's gripping the edge of that as she's watching intently.
So Garamond is gonna keep his eye on that flame and basically focus on that flame. And if he loses sight of that flame for more than 10 seconds, then something's gone wrong and action will need to be taken place. you know. So he's focusing on that flame.
Okay. So yeah, like keep an eye. You can see now that things are getting the rain is getting heavier now. You can see as well further out that big storm, you've got a better view because you're higher up. That storm is coming closer and the waves are crashing at a distance, and it's coming this way. All right. Is there anything you would like to do here, Don, or are you just like gunning it?
At first, he's just keeping a normal, steady pace out there, and he knows like swimming and crashing waves like this. If you're gonna do it, to look out for riptides that'll pull you out if you get in the wrong lane. He knows like when the waves come up high, wait until right before they crest and then swim under and come back up the other side. And it's just very rhythmic at the start. He's keeping an eye on the flame too. Okay. And as Banu actually gets further ahead, there's a kind of a smile through the rain, an impressed smile, and he calls out into the dark. That is what I am talking about, Banu. It is like making love. Feel it. And then he crashes down under another wave and comes back up. And he's going to try to catch up with Banu because he sees the fins out there. And, he's been taking it kind of easy. But he doesn't want Banu to get too far out there on his own.
Yeah, of course. All right, we're going to have a second swim check. This is going to be difficulty 9 this time. As you're getting further out, things are getting a little bit more turbulent. And we'll see if that helped or hindered Banu. If he goes, what? Fucking drowns.
16.
Okay, 16. He got a 17. All right. He looks back at you. You've caught up with him a bit more now. So you're not as far away as you were. You're enough that you can see his face. And as he turns to look at you, there is a big smile on his face. You see in the moonlight, you see the brightness of the whites of his eyes and his teeth, and you can see that he's smiling at you. And you hear him shout, "It wasn't so bad after all."
Well, don't say that yet, Banu. There are ghosts in these waters.
You see his eyes widen, and he sort of turns back and swims a little bit harder.
Balto likes that and just, continues to try to keep up and keep an eye on his surroundings as much as he can in the dark.
All right. I'm going to roll for the other swimmers, see how they're doing right now. 15. Okay, so the other swimmers, they're doing all right. They're managing to keep up. They're not quite hitting the same pace that you and Banu are doing. You're clearly the forerunners of the pack, but no one seems to be in trouble yet. No one seems to be struggling. No one has fallen victim to a shark yet that you can see. Everyone seems to be with you. Okay, so you press on, and now below you, you can, if you stick your head in the water briefly, you can see those shipwrecks now down and deep in the water. It's very hard to see. It's murky, it's dark, obviously being at nighttime, but the moonlight does help illuminate a little bit, and you can see sticking up bits of the hulls of boats and the masts and stuff. Ships that have been sunk for a long time down here. And it's eerie, right? Those ship graveyards are always very eerie. They're like skeletons deep under the water. And you can see moving between them, not quite the full figure of sharks just yet, but you can see that movement, those shadows that you know with all your experience there, Tibalto. There are sharks and they are around, and they have noticed that you lot are here now and getting more inquisitive. And just up in the distance ahead of you, you see again more of these dorsal fins as they sort of come up to the surface a little bit to scope you out before they come down and circle a little bit tighter once again.
How far down are the shipwrecks?
They are, God, I'm really bad at distance, but like a couple of feet, maybe like 10 feet or so below you right now.
Okay. All right. Tibalto is going to dive and continue to swim out in Banu's direction, but like go under the water and look for one of those skeletal masts that maybe has like seaweed or a little strip of, a rotting flag or sail that's still net, anything. He just wants to snag something from the top of the mast and take it with him if he can.
All right, yeah. So you swim down. You there's some rotting, like you said, like netting, like rigging from one of the ships, and it takes a little bit of a struggle to get it off. But the wood here has been so ruined with the water that you can just like break it off, and you have yourself a piece of rigging. It's a fairly sizable chunk, but maybe the length of you, of rope.
So he'll, kick off and spread his legs out and kick back to the surface with the rope with him, just kind of tying part of it under one arm so that he doesn't have to, hold on to it with both hands. He can just hold on to it with that one hand. And as soon as he hits the surface, he books it to try to catch up with Banu.
Okay. All right. Let's have another swim test. This one is going to get more difficult now as you have entered open water between the two, getting towards the island, but this is no longer a secluded bit of water. So the waves here are more turbulent, and these sharks are here now, and they are circling this group. So this is going to be a difficulty 12.
Okay.
Am I going to use a bonus die? Let's use a bonus die for Banu. I've got 3. So Tom, if you could update my tally, thank you very much.
I still got another one too. I feel like I should save it though.
You gotta fix
Should I? I feel like I should save it. I'm gonna save it.
I'm not saying you would need to save it, but it might be.
13.
13. Okay. So, Banu is managing to keep his head above water. He's not hitting that same pace that he was. He has slowed down considerably. And you can, as you sort of catch up with him, he's slowed down significantly. So catching up with him isn't that much of an issue. You can see like his teeth are chattering in the cold now, and his head is whipping around as he's looking at these sharks. And you can see that the flame is still being held. It dips low a couple of times, never into the water, maybe an inch or 2, just at the top of the water. But you can see the fear is starting to hit him now as he realizes where he is and what the fuck is happening to him.
As Tibalto swims up and catches up with him, he's going to actually try to swim a little bit ahead of him. Not too far, But he'll turn to him, between a stroke, and spit some seawater out of his mouth and say, "All right, Benu, we are almost there. Now remember, ghosts do not like to be perceived. They prefer to go unnoticed. So you just keep your eyes on me and Tebalto. He will get you to the lighthouse."
And he looks afraid. He definitely looks afraid, and he nods. All right, Taboto, let's finish this. Yes.
Yes, and if you get too afraid, call out the magic word. You'll know the magic word, of course, and he starts to swim further ahead.
And he goes, "No, wait, no, I don't know the magic word," and he tries to catch up with you, but he glances over his shoulder, and we're gonna see how the other swimmers are doing.
Okay.
Um,
Oh no.
a 7. Okay, so he looks over his shoulder. There were 3 others swimming with you today. He can only see 2. One has disappeared. One is gone. And you in particular, Tabalto, with your knowledge and affinity of these waters and the things that live in it, you notice a couple of these dorsal fins just fucking bucket back towards where this unfortunate lad was.
Yep. And Tebalto has been in this situation before. He knows that if someone goes down and blood goes into the water, that the best place to be is not anywhere near that person. And so Tebalto, he doesn't even look back. He sees the dorsal fins moving quickly. He knows what that means past him. He keeps his eyes on the lighthouse, that light spilling out of it. And just before he crashes down underneath a wave and pops back up through the other side and starts stroking forward again, he calls out to Benu, "The magic word is Fioria, Benu, Fioria. You have to cry it out with all of your heart." And he cries out, "Fioria," and then crashes underneath the waves.
And you hear Banu like mutter it to himself to try and remember it in his brain. And he says to himself, like, he's not gonna say it unless he absolutely has to. He's gonna do this on his own. He's not gonna use this magic. Back on the royal stand, there's a cry that goes out, Tom, when one of these swimmers disappears. There's a call from the shore. There's people, they have sort of like scouts up on the cliffs watching. They have through very rudimentary telescopes, through lenses, they are watching the swimmers, and they call
Yeah.
out that one of the swimmers is down. We've lost a
Okay.
swimmer. And there is a lot of confusion for a moment as no one can quite tell who it is. And it's at this one of these points where the waves are quite high, so seeing that torch is difficult from where you are. It disappears just as that call is made, and you hear Soraya gasp, and she is holding her breath, and you see that hand, those knuckles go white on the edge of her chair.
So at the same time where it goes out of sight and that column we can't see it, one hand kind of like immediately, because as she's kind of holding down on either side of the thing, and I imagine he's like right next to her, a hand almost instantaneously goes over one of her hands and kind of grips it too, because it's like that. But on the other hand, his other hand is almost like on his sword belt, ready to like let it go loose, and run in, and he's just holding his breath until he can see that light again, or until he's been told to go in.
Yeah. And it's agonizing. Those seconds feel like minutes. They feel like hours as everybody on that stand is looking to see if it's Banu who fell. And the darkness, the rain, everything, everyone is silent. Even the small folk gathered are quiet, waiting to hear who it was that went. And there is, as I said, a couple of seconds pass, and it is only seconds before one of the scouts calls out that it was the name of one of the small folk boys who was swimming. And Soraya, she had her grip on the chair releases somewhat. You feel that release of tension in her hand a little bit. She leans back in her chair, and you see just a single tear roll down the side of her face as she lets out like a really relieved sigh.
Yeah. The second Garamond feels her hand kind of like relax, he realizes where his hand is, and very embarrassingly kind of takes it back and stands back up, and then like focuses on the thing, but a quick glance to the thing to see if she like even noticed, and then he just continues looking at the flame in the ocean.
As you glance to the side, the princess, no idea. She wasn't paying attention. She's been looking at the spectacle of the thing. However, the chaperone with her, an older woman, sorry, dressed up very much like oh god, what's that fucking name? Olenna Tyrell, with like the wimple and the thing down,
yeah.
very matronly sort of look to her. She looks at you with like the most scandal, the most like, she's looking at you like you are the most like disgusting piece of shit because you touched a noble woman. You are very familiar with a noble woman, but she looks to Soraya and notices that Soraya wasn't like, get the fuck off me, pleb.
Yeah.
And she quirks an eyebrow like before she turns and like, she's like, oh, the princess. But there's that moment where she's like, oh, I'm judging.
Yeah. Garamond turns a little red. He blushes a little bit.
Tips of his ears.
Yeah. The ears are kind of like, yeah, that's it. But he kind of refocuses on the flame and, just focuses on that.
All right. Back out to sea we are. This is going to be our final swim test. And there is blood in the water now.
Yep.
The sharks are very active. Anything moving could be dinner. So we are going to make this a difficulty 15 swim test. As the waves are very, very choppy now. It's very dangerous. The sharks are riled up. I'm going to use another die for Bennu, I think.
Yeah, I'll use my last bonus die as well.
Just a bonus? You've got 2 tests.
I do?
Susie.
Oh.
No, Susie. Unfortunately, Don, you've only got 1 bonus dice.
That's right.
Why would I use a test die on saving an NPC's life?
Right.
Use it to kill
you
them
monster. Just saying.
18. Oh.
Nice.
Let's go, Bennu.
Bennu's rolls are great.
He does have athletics 4 because he's a little soldier.
There we go.
So Don. I want you to describe to me as you call out Faria, as you are at home in your element with the knowledge of what's going on behind you, as you call out that word, what is it that really like propels you to that in that home straight? What does that look like?
He calls out the name Furia. He dives back down under the water. That netting that he took, the rigging, kind of whipping behind him, still tied to his arm. And he passes straight towards a shark that's coming straight at him. And as he's swimming straight towards the shark, and the shark is swimming straight towards him, he smiles under the water and he reaches out with his right hand to just lightly grab hold of the base of the shark's fin.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what he does.
Okay. Is this... No, just a shark? Okay.
Oh, no. Is this? Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, the shark swims straight at you, and when the shark swims straight at you, once you reach out and touch the base of its dorsal fin, what happens then?
As soon as he touches the base of the dorsal fin, he presses with his other hand, just a slight push on the side of the shark, and he attempts to guide the shark to turn around and start swimming in the opposite direction towards the lighthouse. So that if the shark pops up out of the water, he's there, like holding on to the fin and looking back at Bennu with a big smile on his face.
All right, so you gently redirect the shark and get it to power towards the island, and the shark starts to surface somewhat, and it's kind of like a Free Willy moment, right? Like you pop out of the water, you take that breath, you look back at Banu, who you can see is fucking gunning it. This kid is like giving it some, and he's not obviously not keeping pace with a shark because he's not built to move through water like that, but he is giving some good pace, and he's swimming quickly behind you, and he sees you pop up holding the shark, and there's a look of wonder on his face as he looks at you. Confusion, obviously, because people don't ride sharks. What's that about? But you told him the magic word, you screamed the magic word, and now here is a shark, leading you, and he can't quite believe it. He can't speak because he's really exerting himself right now, but there's like a joyous look on his face.
And he's just got a shit-eating grin as he's looking back at Banu. And he says, just a moment before he lets go of the shark so that he can swim alongside it, remember the magic word. And then back into the water. And now he's swimming hard with the shark trying to get to the lighthouse.
All right. So, Banu is exerting himself. He's going fast, and you can hear it. You can't quite hear because you're like swimming, but to himself, he's going, as he's swimming. He's like chanting it to himself like a mantra to keep him going. We need to find out how the other boys were doing. And they're gonna have to roll really well.
Yep.
So, no, they can't keep pace, and one of the lads tried to go back to help his friend that was drowning, and that's the worst thing you could do, right? Because drowning people drown people. And he too gets pulled under, and they both become a meal for these sharks. The waters get frantic when a feeding frenzy is almost happening as these two men are being pulled apart by the sharks in this water. The one guy that's left is he is terrified. You can no, you can't really see this, but for the audience's benefit, he's swimming, but there's no rhythm to it. It's just panic. He's flailing as he's trying to push on, but he's not going very far. He is not yet drowned. He has not yet been eaten by a shark, but you can see the sharks that are left that aren't eating right now are circling him more and more, and it's only a matter of time before this poor fellow becomes a snack. But the shore is close. It is right there in front of you. You can see it, Tabolto. It's your final stretch. I'm not going to make you do a swim test for this bit because the water's becoming more shallow now as you get to the island, but you can see that great iron brazier that isn't lit. And just behind you is Banu, panting, and every breath is as he's going. You've made it.
Tabalto slows down when he gets close to shore, and he leans over and gives a pat on the side of the shark that's been swimming along with him, and just dips down under the water, pops back up, gives it a peck right on its gill on his way up, and stands in the shallows, not going all the way to shore, just whipping his hair back behind his head, and watching Banu so that Banu can head to the shore first.
Banu makes it to you at the shore, and he has the torch still. It's still lit, and he's on one knee as he reaches the shallower waters. He puts up a hand,
reaches down and like yanks him up to his feet, and he says, "That was very impressive, Banu. You should light the torch, the brazier, and then climb up on my shoulder so everyone can see you. This is your moment. The Martells are watching. Everyone is watching. Make it yours. You deserve it."
He lets out he pulls himself up, and he lets out like a hacking cough. You know when you've been running and your lungs taste of blood?
Yep.
And he's like, don't tell anyone I did that. And then he strides forward, torch in hand, and he raises it above his head. Back on the royal stand, Tom, you can see the call comes down that Banu has reached the island, and the cheer goes up. And you watch from a distance as Banu drops the torch into the brazier, which immediately ignites in fantasy fashion. This great flame. Miraculously, Banu's eyebrows survive. And as that brazier lights out there on that little island, the whole crowd scream and cry and clap and applaud. Soraya lets out a laugh and the breath she's been holding the entire time, and applauds. The princess is like, woo! She's applauding and clapping and having a great time. The mood, substantially cheery, considering that 3 people have just died, but they don't. They're the noble one, so I mean it's fancy. But the priest begins to extol this prayer song, a song about the flame, and the crowd soon join in, and it feels warm, like the song, the lyrics. It feels comforting. It feels warm. It feels energetic. Back on the island, Banu lights the brazier, and you are a little far out to be able to make out distinct sounds, but you hear that roar come from the shore.
They are cheering your name, Banu, and they won't understand what you say, but if I were you, I would climb up on my shoulders so they might see you in the torchlight a little better. You must strike an impressive pose, something that is big enough that they will see it all the way over there and know that you are triumphant. And then you roar, Banu. You roar like you have just won a great battle so that they can hear you.
And he looks at you, and he's smiling, he's beaming, he's done it. He knows he's done it. And he climbs up onto your shoulders, and there's a moment he steadies himself. He throws out his arms wide, as big as they go. And he's worked out a lot, so he's muscular and broad as he like throws his arms out, and you hear this yell, this scream that comes from his very stomach as he just lets out everything. And he looks up to the sky as he does so. And
he's a little unsteady, like he's been drinking, but he keeps him firm.
And he holds his hand out, and he this goes for quite some time. Like it's not like a little like he's like until like his very last breath, and it sort of rasps out of him, and you hear how raw his cry is right at the very end.
He's straining more and more the longer it goes on, and in his brain he's like, that's good, Banu, that's good. All right. All right. But he lets him go until the end.
Once he drops his arms and he looks down at you, and he kind of sees that like exertion face that you've got going on a little bit. Oh, you're trying to disguise it. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, and then he sort of climbs down.
Oh, don't worry about it, Banu. You did fantastic. A great first swim through the gap. I can't wait until you do it again next year.
What?
Well, yes, I know what is. So some people, they do it once and they are done with it. But now you know the secret. And you know what waits in there.
He looks at the lighthouse.
Do you believe that it is true?
I don't know. Why don't we go see for ourselves?
I'll follow you.
And he slowly starts to make his way towards the lighthouse. He casts a glance back over the water to see if anybody else has made it. And there's a sort of like solemn shake of his head as he sees no one else has made it to shore. And he heads into the lighthouse. Meanwhile, back over at the royal stand, the song is wrapping up. The people are singing and they're beginning to disperse. The spectacle's over. The torch has been lit. There is boats that go out to try and reclaim the dead, or as much of them as they can get. And it is that's not a happy duty. And you can see there's a couple of families there stood by the water's edge, just looking out, and they're crying and upset, clearly, knowing that their loved ones haven't made it. But the princess, her chaperone, and her bodyguard are here on the stand, and they're congratulating Lady Soraya for the wonderful feat of heroism that her son has just accomplished on this day. And Soraya, she's beaming with pride. You can see though she looks very tired, very drawn, almost as if watching your child go through a life or death situation is emotionally exhausting. But she takes everything the princess says with grace, and she's very, thank you. And she sort of takes off the princess to go and talk a little bit about what this means and plans for Nyla's wedding and stuff like that. They go off and have a conversation. And a couple of your guard go with them, and a couple of the Martell guard go there. But everyone seems to be relaxing a little bit now. Drinks are being passed out to the other guards that were here, water and a couple of rations as they've been on duty basically all day. And you see the Lady Silver Ulla, she sat on a bench. It's away from the royal stage at this point. She sat on a bench and she has her helmet off and it's in her lap, and you see she's got dark, very closely cropped hair, very almost like a buzz cut, but it's very fine, she's cut it with a dagger. She sat there and she's mopping her brow, covered in sweat because her armor's heavy as fuck, and she's just sat there chatting with a couple of people, and she has a big wine skin that she's just taking sips from occasionally. And the mood, it's kind of a genial mood here. Everyone's pretty chill, everyone's pretty normal. When actually, could I have a awareness check from you, please, Tom?
Yeah, sure. Any specialty? Oh, it doesn't matter.
Awareness notice, if you have it.
Okay. 14.
14. Okay. You notice something about Ulla, Lady Ulla.
Okay.
While she sat there, you can see that her sweat is heavier than what you would expect for someone who has just been wearing armor all day. Her complexion has gone quite pale.
Mm-hmm.
And she is guzzling this flask.
Okay. In that case, Garamond will probably ask for a servant to come with maybe a jug of water.
Mm-hmm.
In Garamond's mind, because he sees the sweat, maybe he's thinking that maybe she's over dehydrated, she's miscalculated. What does she look like again? I forgot. Is she Dornish? Is she Royna?
She's Royna. Yeah.
She's Royna. So it's possible she's misjudged the heat. It's heavy armor and stuff. So he gets a kind of like a jug of water with a goblet and approaches. And he pauses for a minute. Excuse me, my lady. Are you okay?
And she looks up at you. She sat on this bench, arm resting on this helmet, and she hands off this flask to a guard, just a nondescript guard who, with your awareness test, you don't recognize them as a member of your household guard.
Is he wearing because I imagine the household have a somewhat semi-uniform, it's not going to be like the royal regalia of the thing, but it'll probably be they would wear something and maybe a sash or something of a certain color.
They wear armor in the Royna fashion, which is scale mail.
Yeah.
And they have some of that, and uniform colored gambeson. There's a gambeson made in the keep that they hand out to new guards.
Okay, so he's one of ours.
Yes, they're he's wearing that gambeson. You don't recognize him.
Okay.
And they're wearing one of your gambeson. They're not wearing the scale, it's just the gambeson. But a couple of guards around also aren't wearing. They've thrown it off. Fuck this. We're not fighting. I don't need to wear this. This is hot.
To be honest, Garamond can't know every single frigging guard in the keep.
No, yeah, you can't know everyone.
So okay, no problem. So he won't really kind of make anything. He just takes note of the guard just going away, and nods, and he'll pour a goblet of water or a cup or a mug of water, whichever one, I think this might suit better than wine.
And she takes it. Shame. I like wine. She wipes that brow. How do you live here?
Yeah, stubbornness, I think. It's taken me near 10 years to get used to the heat, and I still don't think I'm used to it.
She takes a sip. No, by the color of you, it kind of looks like you come from a place with no sun at all.
And Garamond will kind of like visibly relax a little bit because he's been on things, so he'll visibly relax, and he'll kind of like take a seat next to her, like perch on something, and kind of sit down, nestle his shield like in front of him, to rest it from the shoulder that he's been carrying most of the time. No, yeah, I suppose you could say that. Where I'm from, we're more used to cloud and rain. So this is the rain. It's a little bit like my old home.
And she looks at you. She goes, "Fuck the rain. Where I come from, there's only sand and dust."
Oh, I thought you'd like a bit of change with rain.
No, I can't stand it. How do you cope being wet all the time?
I don't know. I think you just get used to it after a while. It's just like getting used to be covered in dust and hot all the time.
I suppose. So, how did
I'll
a
tell you
person
what,
like
though.
you end up down here anyway?
Oh, that is a long and boring story. I would not want to bore you.
With all due respect, I have been accompanying an 8-year-old princess for the past year. There is nothing you could say to me that would be more boring.
Aye, true enough. And he'll pause. Let's just say, where I'm from, we take our honour very seriously, and our oaths very seriously. And I failed in my oath. And instead of death, I was exiled. So I travelled, and my travels ended me up here.
Does she know?
Ah, she knows.
And she looks between the two of you for a second. Are you fucking her?
And he's just genuinely aghast. He's like, no, of course not. She's my lady. I would never do such a thing.
Shame.
What? Are you?
What?
Never mind. No, I'm not.
She laughs and then she slaps your chest with her arm. Don't worry, I'm teasing.
Oh, yeah, of course. And again, his ears start going red again. Telltale sign. Yeah, no. She is. I'm very grateful for my lady. She has given me new purpose, and I will fight and die for her as my oath to her
And she
and
leans
for this
forward.
family.
Really? You're not
No,
even
no, it would be improper to do such a thing. That's just no.
You know where you are, right?
Yes, I am aware of where I am, but I know where I've come from, and I know how I've been raised, and I know my values. You take them wherever you go.
Do you anyone?
No, no one.
She looks at you like disbelief across her face. Really?
Really? I never.
Well,
From where I'm from, it is a little different from down here. It is a lot more formal, and you get married before you do something like that. And I never married.
She sort of like squints. That sounds horrible.
Probably why there's so many good fighters up there. Got to fill the time with something.
You don't say. And then she stretches, and there's like you hear like a crack of her back as she sort of stretches out full and stretches out her arms, and she wipes that brow again and it's furrowed, and she sort of wafts herself. Ugh,
Are you okay?
I'm just tired, I think.
Huh. Here, and you'll pour another glass, a goblet of water for her to drink. Don't you think you should get out of that armor?
I can't.
Oh, still guarding.
Whatever the princess wakes, I have to wake. I have to be ready to fight. I have to be ready to defend her at any point.
No, I understand. I understand. It's nice to know you take it so seriously.
Well,
Quite noble of you.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm no
I mean,
noble. Well,
you,
technically, but
well, you swore an oath, did you not?
I
And you
did.
take that oath seriously.
I did.
I'd say that's a noble gesture.
Without that girl, without her mother, my house would be nothing.
Why, what did she do?
When the dragons came, uh, my family were servants of the queen, and we did everything we could to make sure that she escaped. My parents were unfortunately lost to the flames, but we fought beside her throughout all our journeys. When we arrived in places they wanted to take us as slaves, or we fell to disease, those of us that remained, we stood by her side, we protected her, and we fought. We bled, we died for her. And she promised us that once that she found us a home, that all our sacrifices would be recompensed in some way. So she gave us land, she gave us a home, she gave us money, she gave us a purpose. And she gave us our freedom from being servants. I was not forced to defend the princess. I chose to.
Well, sounds like she's lucky to have you. And you her.
Mm-hmm. And she looks across at the princess. As small and as annoying as she can be, I would do anything for her.
I don't think I've ever really had the pleasure of talking to her. But she seems quite a kind sort.
She's going to be a good queen someday.
It's good to know that the kingdom's in good hands.
Mm-hmm. And you see that Silva is sort of like, she's staring into a fire that has been built. Like there's people just chilling around. How guards do. There's always
Yeah.
just a fire like that, even though that's not how fires work. She's staring into it. And you can see that she's slightly swaying in her seat. Not through drunkenness, like she's having difficulty staying upright. But she doesn't seem to be aware of it. She's not like trying to steady herself. Her body's just rocking slightly.
Okay. Well, Garamond. You know what?
You could do? You could try a medicine diagnose roll.
Oh my god. I
Or
was
healing.
thinking maybe he might have seen something like this before, but I'll just do a heal to see what. It is healing, isn't it?
Yeah, healing diagnose, not medicine.
Mine's only a 7. So I guess I notice her.
You got a 7? Okay.
Yeah.
You don't quite know what's wrong with her. You can see that something is wrong with her, clearly. I mean, she's,
But
you
no.
know, she's like, what, 22, a warrior, and she's sweating
Yeah, she
buckets,
shouldn't
and
be.
she shouldn't be
Yeah.
like this.
So Garamond will stand up and turn to her, and he'll say, could you stand up for me, please, my lady?
And she sort of sighs, and then she
And-
puts two hands on the bench either side of her to pull herself up, almost like she tries to stand up without that, and her legs just sort of don't give her that oomph to get up. And she looks at you. There's a confusion in her eyes for a minute, and then she stutters out, and then she stands, and her head is clearly, you know, when you stand up too quick and you get
Yeah.
dizzy, and she blinks and shakes her head, and she's
At this
swaying.
point, Garamond is ready to catch her. He's
Yeah.
expecting her to go.
And she puts her hand on your shoulder and
Mm.
looks at you. Something is wrong. And as she says that, she coughs, and a gout of blood from her mouth splatters your cheek.
And his eyes will go wide and kind of grab hold of us to kind of support her. And shit. Would I know if we have a maester down here or anything?
You know your maester is Mia, which is James's
Yeah, I
campaign.
know. I didn't see any.
He's not here.
I didn't. The princess didn't bring.
No.
Anyone.
If there was a maester with the princess, he's not here too. And as you're holding Silva up, her leg sort of gives way, and she's putting her whole weight on you.
Okay. In that case, he will literally just grab hold of her to try and keep her steady, or at least lay her down gently. And as he's laying her down, he's going to be screaming, "Guards! Guards!" to get here as quick as you can. And the first...
So as you lay her down, she grabs your breastplate, pulls you in close, and she says, "Protect the princess." And she coughs another gout of blood.
And he'll kind of like, "Hey, you stand down. You be careful. We'll get you help. Get you help." And the nearest guard to come, he's going to grab. He's going to go, "You run to the castle and you wake up Mia. I don't care where he is, and get him ready. Go."
Okay.
And everyone and all the other guards, he's going to essentially try and get a table, get her on it, and carry her, and like literally pelt it towards the castle to get it to Mia as quick as he can.
Okay. So as you bark out those orders, and as your men work out a way to get Lady Silver Ola to the keep, that is where we're going to end today's session. Juicy fruits, friends.
You never have just a happy episode. Someone's gonna have to croak it, don't they?
Hey, she's not dead yet. Tom, would I kill a big buff lady?
Yeah,
She's
you're
fine.
right. You're
Don't
right.
worry about it.
Yeah.
She's gonna come back all heroic later with like a half button down Anderson. Don't worry about it. But thank you so much for today's session, friends. That was a really fun one.
It was great.
Yeah.
And
It
a
was
very
really
important
great.
one, I feel like, for the town and things happening around it. Thank you very much, chat, for joining us today. Welcome back. So just as a thing here, I didn't mention this at the top, but we will be moving to an every other week schedule, which means there won't be a game next Thursday. It will be on the 23rd is our next session, because next week I'm getting my flu and COVID booster shot, so I'm not going to be in any position to GM next Thursday. But thank you all again so much for joining us. We'll go around one last time, have a little debrief, and then say where we can find ourselves, and then we'll leave you to your wonderful evenings. So, Tom, you're at the top of my overlay. What do you think to today?
Brilliant.
Do you like it?
It was great. It was such a good episode. I mean, I had full faith in Bennu getting there. I knew full well he'd be fine. He is a young up and coming knight, or the Dorne, or the Royna version of a knight. He's gonna be pretty good at athletics. He's gonna be he prepared for it. He had this no problem. And if all hell broke loose and he failed miserably, got Tybalto's there as well
Yeah,
to pull him out.
Tybalto was
Easy
there.
peasy. There was
And,
no problem.
If he died, there's
Yeah.
two sisters. The succession's not in any
Exactly. I mean,
danger.
what is he,
It's like-
third in the line?
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Right now he's third. Let's see.
I wonder, doing such a public display of unity between the Royna and Dornish, if that will, influence anything. Who can say?
But it was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really, really good. It was good playing Garamond again to try and get back into his shoes. Yeah, it was fantastic. Tybalto's just amazing. Tybalto. He just makes me laugh.
So
He
good.
carefree, kind of like he's got that swagger and confidence that I don't. It's just there. Everything he does, even if he cocks up, he's still, yeah, I meant to do that. It's great. And the man rode a shark. How can you not think that's cool, right? The
Yeah.
man just oozes coolness. So I kind of like this. I had this image, and when he approaches the beach with his like retinue, I had the image of the Fonz, and he's ready to jump the sharks with his motorbike, kind of thing. That's where I kind of got this image of it. Yeah, like everyone just hanging on to him. He's just about to go, yeah. So, to me, he's now the Dornish Fonz. Yeah, Pope, the Dornish Fonz.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next. This is great. This is great. The fact that poisoning is already a starting. We're only like what 4 episodes? Is this fifth
This is the
episode
fifth.
in?
Yeah.
5th episode in, and we've already got more poison.
Yep. Poison.
Messy.
It's good.
Yeah.
I will give you something to fight soon. Don't worry, Tom.
Oh, that's okay. I'm cool with it. I'm quite happy. I like playing. Although Garamond is a combat, I like him being awkward. I like him being out of his comfort zone and just being, like just there. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Taking liberties.
Hey, look, it was just out of care.
Yeah.
He's just worried. Even big strong knights need comforting sometimes.
Oh, so it was him seeking comfort from Soraya and not trying to give her the comfort. All right, I see. Okay.
It was a bit of both. They were both stressed. It was a very highly stressful moment. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Tom. Where can we find you and what do you do?
I don't know what I do. You can find me on Twitter with at HotFlakesTom. I occasionally post things on Twitter. Primarily, I don't do a lot online anymore. I don't really stream. I occasionally stream here or there when I'm in the mood, but not really. But if you want to find me, the best place to find me is here, playing Blood and Sand.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
it.
You did stream the other week, though. You streamed the first level of Hi-Fi Rush. And that was good.
I did stream. I think it was earlier this. I can't remember where it was. Last week or something like that. Which was a good game. It was a good game. I haven't had a chance to go back to it yet. But I will. But yeah, I did occasionally stream.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tom. And I hope we see much more of Garamond in the future. Dawn, thank you so much for Tybalto today. What a hero.
Yeah. All right. No, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoy playing Tybalto a lot. I really like playing roguey characters. Like that's my favorite kind of character to play usually. And Tybalto's kind of very different than most of my rogues, and just fun to play. It's been a while, so I was like, oh, well, I remember how to play Tybalto, and then I like Tom said with Garamond, and kind of fell back into it, which was a blast. I really enjoyed all of the intrigue in the scenes with the family and Garamond. I really liked that scene at the end, not just because of the poisoning, but also because of the poisoning. So even though Tybalto, at least right now, he doesn't seem to be particularly involved in politics, I really like the politics of this campaign and how it's kind of coming together a little more every session. So, and then of course, like I got to swim the gap. I was looking forward to that. I was nervous about it because I know my character's not very good at things. Pretty good at swimming. That last roll was pretty good. But I didn't know what to expect. But I was excited for it. Even if Tybalto got eaten or Banu got eaten or they both got eaten, I was down for it. It was just really, really fun, despite the fact that 3 small folk got eaten by sharks. And I really like Banu's character a lot. He's the sorry, V and Millie, but he's the hero. He's the leader that the family needs right now. Maybe that could change, though. That could change. But yeah, I'm just really intrigued by the story. I didn't expect Valyrians to show up. and they did. And they probably came closer than I would have liked to being immediately killed by them. It was just a lot of fun. I can't wait for the next session.
Hell yeah. Look, I wasn't going to get you killed by almost Targaryens so early. They got us last time.
I would have been okay with it. It kind of would have been an interesting, like, very Game of Thronesy early death to kill off Debalto because he tried to rob a Valyrian who just showed up on a ship.
Yeah. I mean, the bigger question is why the fuck the Valyrians here in the first place. But
Yep.
we shall find out in no due course. But where can we find you, Don? What do you do?
I am at Donovan Fry on Twitter. Sometimes I post stuff on there. Usually, when I'm feeling punchy or when I have actually something to share with folks. I run and write games full time. That's my job. If you're interested in, playing a game with me, I do have some open seats coming up in March. So you can check out my Patreon that you can access through my Twitter if you want. There's more information there. I've got a bunch of cool games. Like, I've been working on so many games over the past few years, and a lot of them haven't come out yet. And so I think this might be the year where just like a ton of games books that I've written and games that I've worked on will come out. I'm really excited to see how all that shakes out. There's sort of like a Schrodinger's game feeling that I get when I'm waiting for something to be released, because I haven't actually seen like what it looks like, and oftentimes like how is it actually good or whatnot until it's actually released. But I'm really excited about the stuff that I'm working on now and what's coming out. And that's all. That's what I do. I have fun.
Thank you very much. And I know that pain, right? Like you submit the work like months and months and months ago, and you're like, yep, yep. And it looks like to the outside world that you are just sitting on your thumbs and you're just like do, but really you've been working your ass off and you can't say anything until it comes out. But hopefully this is the year that all your stuff comes out and we can yell from the heavens to go buy Dawn stuff, because it's good. It's very good. So please do grab the Dragonlance adventure thing that I put up on DM's Guild with Kiana. Having played one of those previously to Hell and Back, the one with the little flumpy elephant person. I forget the name of the creature.
Oliphant.
Olive, that's it. Very, very good. And I did have a sneaky peek of the Dragonlance one, and it is also extremely good. So do grab that if you get the chance. As for myself, next week will be my return to streaming. I've been gone for a couple of months because of work and back, but I will be back on Monday, and I will be playing a Plague Tale Requiem. Adventures of Hugo and Amicia, Hugo the Rat King, and all their little rat friends. I played the first one when it came out forever ago, loved it, so very excited to play the sequel. So that will be Monday on my channel, which is twitch.tv/Susanna Grace. That's where you can find me. Other than that, please do follow us on Twitter at follow Black Cats, or on our YouTube, which is Black Cats Gaming, or find us on Facebook, which is also at Black Cats Gaming, and keep up to date with what we're doing. We also have a Discord. I think we have a Discord command. Let me see if it works, or if I should be fired. Oh, it works. Look at that. Let's go. Join us at Discord, where we yell about our games, our stream games, and the games we make over there. Other than that, I can't think of anything else. Can you guys? All right. We will see you in 2 weeks' time then, friends. Take care of yourselves. Have a good time, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.